Thursday, everyone. It's time for your primetime preview over here on Last Call on WagerTalk. We're talking a Thursday night football. We have an AFC North rivalry matchup here between two of the older quarterbacks in the league. Joe Flacco getting the start out here for the Cincinnati Bengals versus Aaron Rodgers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to be a doozy of a game, and I've got two fantastic guests jumping in to give you what they think on this Thursday night football slate. We'll start off with Brian Leonard, followed by Adam Trigger. So make sure you jump into the live chat over here on YouTube and drop those questions that you do have for both of them in tonight's Thursday night football game. Also, open up your odds logic page, you guys. Make sure you have all of those lines in front of you so you can shop for the best as we go over everything. And when we look here at this game, that spread sitting right around that 5.5, with the Pittsburgh Steelers being the favorite in this one. Mike Tomlin coming in here on a short week as a favorite in primetime Thursday football. It hasn't been a strong suit, but can they get it done against the Cincinnati Bengals with a beat up defense here that just can't seem to stop anything? Both of these defenses actually are struggling against the passing game. So we look at a total of 44.5, and I know there's some 45s out there as those numbers start to creep up, but we're going to go over this game. We're going to bring in Adam Trigger. Again, open those odds logic pages. We'll bring Adam Trigger in second, Brian Leonard in first. So let's bring Brian Leonard in.
Hey, it's Brian, great to be here. Nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, it is.
Very familiar with this division, as I'm from Cleveland, and over the years I've grown to hate both these teams, especially the Steelers. And to tell you how my friends are out here in Vegas, Marco D'Angelo is a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. They're going out to watch the game at a Steelers bar tonight. He offered to buy my dinner if I walked in there with my Cleveland Browns jersey on. What a guy. What a guy. It's worth it for him to see somebody beat the hell out of me, I guess, is what he's trying to say. But yeah, it should be a very good game here on a Thursday.
Yeah, it should be a really interesting one between these two teams. What do you think of these aging quarterbacks out there, Brian? Everyone calling them the grumpy old men of the NFL. But if I was them, wouldn't you be pretty happy that you're still playing football in your 40s?
Yeah, I would be. And well, as opposed to playing football in my 40s, I'm more happy to get the checks that they get. I'm sure they're going to pay for it as they get older, and I'm sure they've been knocked around enough already. But yeah, we've got two older quarterbacks now, and one of them a former Brown in Joe Flacco is going for Cincinnati. Had a pretty decent game last time out. Didn't throw for a lot of yards, but he didn't turn the ball over. And that's really what you want when he's out there. I believe he had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's going up against Aaron Rodgers. And I've got to be honest with you, I didn't think much of Rodgers coming into this season, but I've watched him just about every week, and he continues to get better. He's starting to really come around on this offense. They played Cleveland last week, who I think has a very good defense, and they moved the ball pretty well against that Cleveland defense last week. I know the total has gone up from about 44 to 45 here. With the quarterbacks going, I think there might be some advantages towards the over. Really, when you take a look at Flacco, he's a guy that throws the ball downfield. And obviously, Rodgers can do a little bit of everything. He can run, he can throw the ball downfield. But that's something that Cincinnati didn't have before. Now, the problem with Flacco is he is basically a sitting duck in the pocket. And you're going up against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. They've got 20 defensive sacks on the season, second in the league. If they could get to him, they could possibly shorten this game for him, and hopefully he can survive and play the whole game. But if he can get a hold of some of these passes, he's got very good receivers in Cincinnati, something he probably didn't have in Cleveland. He could throw the ball down the field and have some success. I wanted to play Pittsburgh here because now that they do these Thursday games, most of the time they do it with divisional rivals. So Pittsburgh's there every year. They play them twice a year. So it's not quite the same as it was a few years ago where you got a lot of teams from different conferences playing each other, which was a real problem to prepare for those games. But I kind of like the situation here with the over. As I said, I wanted to play Pittsburgh, but the line came out a little higher than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be 4. So my strike number is 4. I don't think we're going to get it. I've seen some 5s, but 5.5 mostly around there. But at this point, the way I would play it would to play the over. It's still 45. If you can get it at 45, that's fine. Anything more than that, I would probably pass on the game.
Definitely might be a nice live betting opportunity if we
Mhm.
do see the Bengals go up first, coming back in on the Steelers. At that point, I love that you brought up the defense here for the Steelers and their ability to get those sacks. We talk about the offensive line all the time for the Cincinnati Bengals, and teams know that they can get to whatever quarterback is behind there. We did see Cameron Haywood be able to get a sack before in his career on Joe Burrow. Now coming out here versus Joe Flacco, he's plus 182 to get a sack. It's a nice price there because we know Flacco's not as mobile as Joe Burrow. But you got TJ Watt, you've got Alex Highsmith. Out of those three guys, which one do you think has the best opportunity of breaking through?
Well, I'm not a big prop guy, so I don't really know what the numbers are. And without knowing the numbers, it's hard to make the judgment. But you would think Watt would be up there. He's had a lot of success in the division over the years. He knows these teams very well. And obviously, they all know Joe Flacco. It's not like he came from out of the division. So they played him, every year for the last couple of years here. So they know him very well. I'm just hoping he can get rid of that ball down the field and let his receivers get those big gains, and hopefully we can get that victory. But hey, if you're looking to play sacks, this might be a good game to play that also.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a game where you're going to see both of these defenses have some success in certain situations. You got Joe Flacco rolling in with a passing yard prop of 237.5. Aaron Rodgers, the numbers have ticked up as the day has gone on. Brian, he's now 224.5. Are you surprised seeing those numbers tick up? I believe he was high, 2 kind of ish, like 219.
Yeah, I think it correlates with the increase of the line, the total in the game. Like I said, it was like 44. Now we're up at 45. Anytime that goes up, 45 is a pretty important number for a total. So if you can't get the number you wanted, I could see a lot of people playing the yards above and things like that. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
It absolutely does. Okay, so you're liking the over 45. I know you're not a huge prop guy out there, but what players do you think are going to have success out there on the field with the style of play these teams are going to bring?
Well, I would think the defensive guys for tackles. You're going to get more of a linebacker. I think it's going to be more of a passing game than a running game, and so maybe the linebackers, defensive back, something to that effect for tackles. Yeah, like I said, I don't do a lot with props, so I haven't paid a lot of attention to it. I'm more of into the classic of the side and total and first half, second half, that kind of thing. And you mentioned live betting. Live betting is really, really strong. There's a lot of people out there, especially on these standalone games Thursday and Monday. A lot of people try live betting that don't know what they're doing. So there's a lot of dead money out there in the market. So if you don't get the numbers before the game, just wait into game time and try to take advantage of some of that weak money out there.
I love it. Okay, I got to ask you this. Arby's, are their burgers underrated? I can't remember the last time, and I didn't even know Arby's made burgers. I thought they were more like sandwiches. Carmine jumping in there, missing Arby's 2 for $8 roast beef sandwiches. So what are your thoughts, Brian, before we hear what you got for sale?
I actually am one of the few that actually loves Arby's.
Okay.
They've got a really good fish sandwich, according to my wife. They now have, I don't know if they have in Canada, but they have steak bites now in the United States. Have not tried the hamburgers, but I hear they're really good. But I'm very fine with the regular roast beef sandwiches.
Okay. Okay, I like where you're going with that. I will definitely give it a try. I'm pretty sure we don't have steak bites or burgers up here at Arby's, but I could be wrong. Carmine would know that for sure. People are now saying they don't like Arby's. So what have
Like
you
I said,
got? I know.
I was in the minority.
Yeah. So looking at tonight's slate, I know you've got a great play up there in MLB for sale. What else have you got for everyone?
Yeah, I've got a big 5% play in the second Major League Baseball game tonight. Trig and I, along with Tokyo Brandon, took part in Total Bases, Trading Bases. It's a book. Total Bases is our TV show or on YouTube and X. And so, yeah, we've talked about that today, and I've got a big 5% play on that. The game has not gone yet, so you still got time to get it. And I've been on a really terrific run in baseball. Just been great lately. 16-4 overall run, 4-0 yesterday. For the last 2 months, everything I see has been working out very well. So I'm very happy to bring all of our clients some winners here, and hopefully we got another big 5% winner tonight.
Absolutely. We'll keep crushing the books out there, Bryan. I really appreciate you joining us here today for the primetime preview on Last Call on Wager Talk.
Thanks. Good luck, everyone.
Okay, guys, if you are looking for Bryan Leonard's MLB pick of the night, it is a 5%. You want to head on over to wagertalk.com to be able to get that. So head on over now before that game kicks off. That is the game between the Seattle Mariners and the Toronto Blue Jays, with my Toronto Blue Jays looking and hoping, I pray that they are able to tie out the series. But we're talking some football here, you guys. I want to note as well that Weekend Warrior package has been running over at WagerTalk, and if you haven't taken an opportunity at getting it yet, you definitely want to check it out. On the Weekend Warrior, you're able to grab the handicapper of your choices picks for football on Saturday and Sunday for one low price of $49. They're also going to throw in those Monday plays as well. So head on over to wagertalk.com to grab that Weekend Warrior package. Now, you guys, drop in the live chat over here on YouTube any questions that you have for Adam Trigger as we bring him into the show, and make sure you do hit that like button as well. Happy Thursday, Adam.
Happy Thursday, Jo. Listen, I got to weigh in on the Arby's thing for a second. I don't mind Arby's. I try to stay away from the fast food. Mallory gives me a hard time if I'm getting fast food too much, but I'm driving around today for a minute, and I didn't want to ruin, she was coming home for lunch quick, so I didn't want to ruin my lunch. And I'm like, I'm driving past Arby's, and I see the sign for the steak bites. And I'm like, you know what? That looks like a reasonable snack. I got a little time to kill, and I don't want to ruin my lunch. So I went in, I got the steak bites. Very disappointed. 0 out of 10. I thought they were terrible. Yeah, I know. I thought they were awful. I thought they tasted like beef jerky. Not what I expect out of a steak bite. But then again, it's what do you expect? I guess steak bites from a fast food place. That being said, I don't dislike Arby's though. I think the burgers are pretty good. The fries, like the non-curly fries, like the regular fries, very solid. So this wasn't like to come on and bash Arby's by any means. Did not like the steak bites. 1 out of 10.
Okay, I'm very choosy about my steak bites, so I'm pretty sure I wouldn't like them either. When I think Arby's, I just think that roast beef sandwich with the cheese on top, right? With that, it's like nacho cheese kind of stuff.
Yeah, Jo, listen, that's kind of how I order. Like, for example, if Chick-fil-A rolled out a burger, I'm going to get chicken if I go to Chick-fil-A. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if Arby's, you go get the roast beef sandwich. Like, you don't stray too far down the menu. That's how I order. And
it's just like you don't go to a steakhouse.
In the chat says those aren't steak. He might be right.
Ooh, let's not even go there. I am so tired of hearing all the stuff that I think I'm eating that is real and it is not real. But you know what's real? Thursday night football. We've got two quarterbacks out here that are looking to make a statement versus each other. Aaron Rodgers versus Joe Flacco. Firstly, which quarterback do you have more faith in tonight?
Oh, I definitely have more faith in Aaron Rodgers. I think that's ultimately why I'm passing on this game. So the way I thought I was going to be all over the Bengals. I've had really good success picking underdogs recently, especially in these primetime games. I feel like they've hit lately. I actually feel like on Thursday night they've been really good this year. I should have wrote that down before I got on the show, but I'll go off memory. Dolphins covered on Thursday night. You had the Cowboys cover that first week on Thursday. The 49ers won outright on a Thursday night game. The Giants won outright on Thursday Night Football last week. So we've actually seen the dogs do have success in Thursday Night Football in this role this year. I thought for sure I'd be making a case. I thought for sure the Bengals would be on my client card, and I just couldn't get there. And I think the reason I couldn't get there with the Bengals is because I'm not sure how much I trust Flacco and this Bengals offense against the Steelers defense, Jo, that I think is going to be a lot better than what they've seen the last couple of weeks. So I go back 2 weeks ago. I actually had the Bengals 2 weeks ago, lost a bet on the Bengals against the Lions. They were 10.5-point underdog. They lost the game by 13, and they scored 24 points. I actually felt like watching that game, 37-24 final. I kind of felt like I deserved to cover a little bit. I thought at least, if you told me going into that game, Jo, that I was going to bet the Bengals, I was going to get 10.5 points, and they were going to score 24, I kind of would have felt like, I would have covered 10.5 there, and it wasn't to be. But I felt like they played good enough to cover in that game. And of course, the 3 turnovers made that, didn't allow that to happen. Last week, I mean, you could argue, and you might be able to weigh in on this because I know you're a Packers fan. They arguably played good enough to beat the Packers. I mean, some clutch field goals. If the Packers don't hit, a field goal at the end, maybe the Bengals have the ball driving down 6. I was really impressed with how they've played the last couple weeks. I think the Bengals are building toward a positive result. And I thought it was going to be here, and maybe it is here, but I'm not going to have my money behind it. They're still a bad team, and this is still a Steelers defense that can put a lot of pressure on Flacco. That can, they're not going to have much success running the ball. So ultimately, it was a pass, but man, I still do lean toward the Bengals here.
It is deadly for the quarterbacks behind that offensive line, Adam. It's got to be a hard one for them. They need to make some improvements there because no quarterback is safe back there. And I completely believe what you're saying. The Steelers defense is going to be able to get to Joe Flacco. He's going to have to get that ball out really quick in a lot of these situations. Is there someone you would look at for Joe Flacco to maybe get those shorter passes off to? Like, do you think one of his running backs could get the shorter passes?
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I would throw like a Noah Fant anytime touchdown out. I know he does kind of like to throw to his tight ends. That might be an option. My concern is that was getting a little bit popular. Not that that should be a concern really, but I feel like that's going to be a common way this game is looked at. Of course, the Bengals are lacking some tight end depth right now, so theoretically he should get some looks. So I don't dislike that. If you're on Fant, by all means, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be. Like I said, I'll go back to my concern about the Bengals and my concern with Joe Flacco. He's being looked at as an upgrade at quarterback. I think we'd all probably say, yeah, he's probably an upgrade over Browning, who they had out there prior. But it's still a bad offensive line. It's still a offense that outside Jamar Chase doesn't have a ton of weapons. And so I look at the last 2 weeks, a lot of the scoring against the Lions came late, came in garbage time. The Packers defense, I don't think is that great. So I look back to the previous 2 games, and that was the Vikings, where they scored 10 points and got absolutely destroyed, and the Broncos, where they only scored 3 points. And those 2 defenses, those 2 teams, to me, are more similar. Pittsburgh is more similar to those 2 teams than they are the 2 defenses that the Bengals played last week. I think I would look at Jamar Chase under props. The reason I say that is because Chase last week against the Packers just balled out. He did whatever he wanted. Whoever the Packers had on him, which I can't remember from memory, but like he was just no match. And the week before, there was a lot of garbage time in that game. I think this game might be a little bit closer. I don't think this is going to be a blowout, which has me leaning toward that Bengals +5. But because of that, I don't think you're going to get a bunch of garbage time for Chase. And if I know Mike Tomlin, if I know anything about Mike Tomlin, he's a little bit smug in the respect. You almost feel like he's telling his team, they've got one solid dude on offense. We're not going to let that guy beat us. And I think I trust Tomlin, the game plan, to take one guy out of the game. So where Jamar Chase props are priced, obviously premium option. Reception props are going to be at a premium. Yardage props are going to be at a premium. I think I would go under on either of those.
Yeah, it's a nice way to look because there's going to be so much love for him out there. And you're right. Mike Tomlin is going to have a game plan for him. We got a couple questions here. Big Sis Lisa asking, what do you think Aaron Rodgers will have to do to have a great game against the Bengals?
I think he's just going to do him. He's going to be Aaron Rodgers. He's probably going to throw the ball. This is where this game is so difficult for me. I'm not trying to really back Aaron Rodgers type stuff because I like the Bengals side here. So I'm not really looking to play Steelers props because I actually do think the Bengals is probably the right side. It looks to be the sharp side. I actually thought there was some value at 5.5. And I sat here and thought about it all day and I just couldn't get there with it. So the Bengals, I thought they've been improving defensively a little bit. I really was impressed with how they played last week. I'll go back to that again. I thought they played a great game against the Packers, kind of, contain that offense a little bit. So Hendrickson's status is obviously important. I'm going to double check that again. I know he was trending toward being out and that certainly hurts. So again, without him, is their defense bad? Yeah, it could be. That's why this game is so difficult. And that's why these Thursday games, short prep for both teams, can be so tough. And also maybe why the underdogs have done well in these spots, because it is a little bit of an equalizer.
Well, especially a 5.5 point spread here with Mike Tomlin on a short week. We know all those trends against it.
Yeah.
Right. And Thursday. So he is out. The book's thinking Joe Flacco is going to throw that interception. It's minus 168, you guys. Aaron Rodgers coming in at plus 118. It's not like Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw interceptions. So a plus market for Rodgers in that situation. If Joe Flacco gets the time and pushes Rodgers in this game, scoring those points, could you see Rodgers turning it over at one point?
Man, Hendrickson being out makes it a lot less likely that Rodgers is going to make a mistake. On the flip side, I think Flacco is going to be under a lot of pressure here. That Flacco interception almost seems like it's a given in this game. Like he should be facing far more pressure than he's seen, like at least last week. And then again, I go back to that Lions game. The Lions defense can be pretty solid, but like if you watch that game, I mean, it was non-competitive until the Lions got a big lead, and then the Bengals kind of were just hung around, and the reason they hung around was just Jamar Chase making plays, very similar to last week. So I think the best way to attack this game, as we talk it out here on the show, would be those Jamar Chase under props. I think you could take your pick, receptions, yardage. So if I go back to the two games prior, the Broncos game and the Vikings game, Chase 5 catches for 23 yards, 5 catches for 50 yards. Steelers defense is much more like the Broncos and the Vikings. And again, I'm just guessing on what Tomlin might do for a game plan. I think he's going to do everything in his power to take Chase out of the game and say, hey, Bengals, you want to run the ball behind that offensive line on us? Go for it. See if you can do that. So Chase unders, and then maybe look for someone other than Chase, maybe Isavas. I don't know if I said that correctly. Fant. Pretty much any other option that's not Chase to just do something for the Bengals. But hey, they might only score 10 points again, like they did in those other two games. It makes it a very difficult game.
Yeah, it does. So when you look at that, it makes the total here really unpredictable. You don't know what Joe Flacco is going to be able to do behind that offensive line against that defense. So if you had to lean one way or the other with that total, with it ticking up to 45 on the majority of books, there's still some 44.5s out there, you guys. So do shop those lines over at Odds Logic. Would you look at anything with that total? Maybe a first quarter kind of bet?
Man, I don't even want to the total's very difficult here. I really don't know. Like that's one where, because again, you take Hendrickson out, the Bengals could get torched really without him, and he's obviously out for the game. But obviously, like if it turns into a blowout, that's going to probably go under. If the Steelers defense is at all dominant, that could keep it under. So I have absolutely no interest in the total. I'd take my chances with the Bengals plus the points, or I'd go with one of those props I outlined. My guy Trance in the chat asked if I did. So I got to give something out here.
Yeah.
That's playable, actionable info. My guy Trance says, "Do Trigger still do KBO?" He's one of the first ones doing it. I do. Joe, I gave out a play last week in the KBO and it got rained out. So I've got to give the people a KBO play. This is a client play. This is up for sale. So don't buy it, obviously, because this is what's up for sale for KBO. I played the Hanwha Eagles -1. -1, very simple. If you don't have a -1 at your book, just split the run line and the money line accordingly. Actually, I shopped it around. Splitting the money line and the run line accordingly, at least earlier in the day when I put it on the site, was a little bit cheaper. It's going to come out to right around -115. -110, -115. If you do that, might have moved a little bit, might be -120. Now, the point is, big advantage for Hanwha. I'm not going to go crazy on breaking down the game. I know a lot of people don't watch KBO, but it is game 1 of their version of the LCS, the championship series. Hanwha Eagles, and I like the -1. So I'm going to split my bet money line, run line, and that play will go at 5:30 a.m. Trance giving me the shout out, so I've got to come back and give a play out. So that is a client play for me.
A nice one. I like where you're going. So you guys, there is your free client play of the day from Adam Trigger. Just handing out winners here for you guys. One thing, Adam, I wanted to ask you. I've already bet it. This number has creeped up though. The Steelers team total, it was 23.5 with the movement in the lines is now 25.5. Against the defense here, I expect Aaron Rodgers to be able to find the end zone a handful of times. Would you be comfortable with the Steelers team total?
Not at the current number, because I think you've crossed over key numbers right there. And even though you might say, well, Hendrickson's worth more than a point, like I don't think personally I could play it at 25 and a half if I knew I could have got 23 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, could you look at something in game if you maybe watch the first quarter, kind of try to get an idea of how the game is going to play out? Yeah, I don't hate that. I wouldn't, again, I can't really, I don't have anything solid to talk you off liking the Steelers or thinking that they're going to score points against this Bengals defense, who's essentially down their best player. I just lean more toward the Bengals side, so it's not something that I really want to totally endorse.
Okay, we got Nick in the chat. He says he likes Chase for the anytime tutty. The Bengals plus the 5.5 and leaning over the 44.5. What about some touchdown props? Do you have anyone where you think maybe they're a nice long shot for us to look at, Adam?
So, I did say I like the Chase unders, but I don't dislike, if you were going to play Jamar Chase in any fashion, like him to succeed, I think I like the looking at the touchdown, because they're obviously going to give him looks if they get close. And if they can get anything one-on-one, he's pretty much capable of beating anyone in a one-on-one battle. And if they're down there, they're going to look toward him. So I prefer the Chase under in the receptions and the yards, just because that's more of like a full game type thing. Chase anytime touchdown, fine. Like they get down there once, it's obviously going to him. So I could see that. I don't know if you're getting great value on that, but that's not the one that I'd probably put you off of. Again, I think I'd look to Fant. I think I'd look to Isavas. I've got to be saying that wrong. I forgot how to pronounce it.
I'm not even going to try.
But,
so you do better
anyway,
than me.
I think I might go anti-Chase in the touchdown market, and I probably wouldn't go Chase Brown. I don't know if I want any part of this Bengals run game against the Steelers. I think I might. That's another way you could look at it. Maybe Bengals rush yard type under anything. Perrine or Brown to go under their yards. I didn't really think of that, but now that we're talking it out, I don't know that the Bengals have a ton of success running behind this offensive line. So yeah, that's kind of the way I would go there. But I can't. Again, I don't know if I'm not going to tell him he shouldn't bet Chase touchdown right there. I just think there's less value on him today.
So our awesome producer, Tom, is saying you say it Yoshivas.
Yosivas. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably still saying it wrong, even though he put the phonetics, sounded it out for me. I'm going to screw it up. If there's someone who's going to screw up a name, it definitely is me. But Adam, great looks here on this Thursday night football game. I know it's going to be a hard one. We're going to see what these quarterbacks can bring to the table. What have you got up and going over for sale? I know you've already given us a KBO pick, but how are things been going, and what can people expect when they come over to buy your plays?
Yeah, like Brian said, we're still grinding it out in baseball. Myself, Brian, Leonard, Tokyo, Brandon, have been doing a baseball show 5 days a week since the beginning of the season. We've had a fantastic time doing it. It's done better than we ever could have expected in terms of the viewership. And I'm going to be doing that same show, same format with Bryan Powers and Rob Vino for college basketball. So keep an eye out for that. That will start November 3rd, the first day of the college basketball season. As far as tonight, I do have a play in the baseball game, the Major League Baseball game. So that goes at 8:00. That's up on my page for $9. So all the baseball plays are on sale. I gave you the KBO one. So if you missed that, just rewind the show. You'll get that for free. And the MLB one that goes at 8 p.m. tonight is up for just $9. Joe, I'm on a really good run in the NFL. I kind of say that listen, the NFL is a very, 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 very tough market to beat. So, I just we'll take them as we can get them. That's why I'm kind of pressing this run right now. Hit both 5% plays last week, and I've hit 4 in a row. So I do have a 5% NFL play that goes on Sunday. And I'm just people are like, well, why is it a 5% play? I'm just hot right now. Gonna let it ride until they stop cashing. Because, like, listen, the NFL is one of the toughest markets to beat. That's why some of these books are out there giving you -105, -103 on sides. So we got to take them when we can get them. But it's gone really good the last few weeks. I think I'm up. It's on this piece of paper somewhere, Joe. Hold on a second.
You got it there. We'll hold on a second.
15.3 units on the season so far in NFL, and hopefully we're adding 5 more on Sunday. So check that out on my page.
Absolutely crushing it, Adam. Nice to see, and the love is coming in for your show Total Bases. Everyone looking forward for that college hoop show, and again, that will start in November on the first day that college college basketball kicks off. So that is great to hear.
Okay. Yeah, I can't wait. That's the college basketball. If anyone's like, what's your favorite thing? What's your thing? I mean, I really go hard with baseball all summer, but when you went to a college like mine, Siena College, they canceled the football team the year before I got there. And the sport is basketball. That is, I mean, so it's been my favorite sport since I was a little kid. And I count the minutes down. November 3rd, the season tips off. I couldn't be more excited. And WagerTalk gave me a show, an hour, 5 days a week to talk college hoops with you guys. So I'm thrilled. Can't wait for it.
That is absolutely fantastic. We know you're going to crush it just like you've been crushing the bases out there. So, Adam, thank you so much for joining us here. Best of luck in this Thursday night football game. Thank you for your time.
Good luck tonight, Joe.
Thank you. Okay, guys, that was Adam Trigger. Like you said, he's absolutely been crushing the books. You want to make sure you head on over to WagerTalk.com to grab his weekend bets as well. He's got a big 5% loaded in the NFL that you don't want to miss out on, especially with how he has been dominating. So head on over to WagerTalk.com to look at that. We've got some questions on some touchdowns here. I'm going to go over a couple of things that I'm liking on this Thursday night football game, give you a couple of those trends that you probably have heard 100 times on Mike Tomlin on the short week here on Thursday night football. But I want to talk at a couple of different things that I'm liking. You guys know I love the defense, so I did parlay a couple of things with the defensive side of things, expecting this Steelers defense, even though, we've got a couple of issues on it, to break through that offensive line. They're going to win it in the trenches when Flacco is out there. So I do think we've got a couple different ways to look, but let's look at some of the touchdown props out there. Jaylen Warren is coming in as a favorite for the Pittsburgh Steelers to get in the end zone. He's too juicy for me, you guys. He's coming in at -125. Well, I do think he finds success. I would rather move down the list. Now you've got DK Metcalf coming in at +140 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he has every opportunity, but I think you've got better value here with Kenneth Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell coming in at +220 for the anytime touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Looking at him so far on the season, he's been able to rush for 176 yards, 41 carries with 3 touchdowns already. And I do think in this one, we're going to see him find success here against the Cincinnati Bengals. I just don't trust the Cincinnati Bengals defensively. And even though we have seen Kenneth Gainwell in that running back role, we know he's a classic running back. He still does get short passes off from Aaron Rodgers. He's had 19 catches for 79 yards. So I do think there's an opportunity to play Kenneth Gainwell both ways. So I will look at him for the anytime tutty. I agree with Adam Trigger. It's really hard to not look at Jamar Chase to be that prime target out there for the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Flacco. We saw Joe Flacco's ability to make those connections out there on the field last week after only joining this team a couple days before. And with more time, I do think him and Jamar Chase will have a fantastic connection. Now, if the Steelers are all over Jamar Chase, you're getting him at +145. Chase Brown is the odds-on favorite at +100, you guys. I would, if you don't want to take Chase, I would look at T. Higgins, because I do think if they are all over Jamar Chase, they are going to leave T. Higgins open, which is a dangerous weapon for them as well out there. So T. Higgins is where I would probably go. I don't blame you guys if you look at Noah Fant. I like the look on him. The tight ends there have been making you guys money and me money this season. He's coming in at +440. So if you think Joe Flacco is going to throw that interception tonight, which the books think. You guys know I love those defensive touchdown props. Now, they don't always cash, but when you're getting the Pittsburgh Steelers defense at plus 600 to be able to run one back in, I can't say no. So at plus 600, I'm going to put a little sprinkle on that. When I looked at those defensive sacks, I love the sacks, you guys. TJ Watt, I parlayed with Alex Highsmith, both to be able to get a sack tonight. When you parlay them together, it's currently plus 167. The only reason I parlayed it is because TJ Watt is so highly juiced. He's minus 188 for the sack, and you can't take him for more than one sack. So I'm not finding it on books, but if you can take TJ Watt for 2+ sacks with how weak this offensive line is for the Cincinnati Bengals, I do think we see it come into play. So I would look at that. But the long shot here for the Steelers to get that anytime sack is Cameron Haywood. He's coming in at plus 182. I think he can break through the offensive line. And with that kind of plus money, I am loving it. Now, when we look at both of the quarterbacks out here, you guys, I'm almost done what I've got to say for who I'm liking tonight with these props. But looking at the quarterbacks, and then we'll get to your questions. Joe Flacco's numbers creeped up to 237.5 for his passing yards. Aaron Rodgers at 224.5. Joe Flacco, I will stay off his total passing yards. He is such a wild card in this game, what he's going to be able to do. I love seeing Joe Flacco succeed because it's crazy to think he's bounced around so much over the last couple of seasons here. But I would look at his pass completions versus the Green Bay Packers. He completed 29 of 45 attempts. So we're looking at Flacco for his passing attempts, not completions. The completions is 22.5. It's kind of juicy at minus 130. I would look at his passing attempts because we know the Cincinnati Bengals are going to struggle to establish that run game. I don't think they do. And I think Joe Flacco's put in the situation where he has to get that ball out nice and fast out of his hands, and he has to throw it. So over 36.5, that number is now at minus 122 for Joe Flacco. Now, I do expect him to throw those passing touchdowns. Over 1.5 passing touchdowns is still giving you plus money for Joe Flacco. It's coming in at plus 144. You've lost a little bit of value. It was closer to plus 160 earlier in the day. But I do think Joe Flacco's able to get a couple of touchdowns on the board today. He was able to get 2 versus Green Bay Packers defense, who I trust more. And then when we look at Aaron Rodgers, I'm not sure if Aaron Rodgers is going to throw over 1.5 passing touchdowns, and I don't like the price. It's coming in at minus 126. Will I be shocked if he throws 2 passing touchdowns? No, but at minus 126, I don't want to take it. What I would look at for Aaron Rodgers is over on his passing yards, and I know this number has ticked up, but I do think Aaron Rodgers goes over the 224.5 passing yards in this game. That's coming in at minus 112 on the majority of the book. So I know that was a lot, but that's everything I'm liking out there. I'm just seeing your comments. Joe Flacco is having to run. Okay, so I see the comment on Joe Flacco having to run. That's an interesting way to look at it. Let's have a quick look together at his rushing prop here. If Joe Flacco is having to run this ball, well, let's see for his rushing prop. If they're giving us anything, Joe Flacco over 0.5 yard, you guys. Joe Flacco's not that mobile. He really doesn't. I don't know. He looks stiff as a board when he tries to run, kind of like Phillip Rivers, right? We know Phillip Rivers had those struggles running the ball. Do we think? Let me know in the comments. Can Joe Flacco run for 1 yard, or is he going to get negative yardage? We've seen it with some of these quarterbacks. Sam Darnold on the weekend had negative yardage in the passing game or in the running game at one point, but then was able to get things done. So let me know your thoughts on Joe Flacco. Aaron Rodgers, it's over 1.5 rushing yards at plus 126. Joe Flacco's over 0.5 yard at plus 112. So let me know what you guys are liking there. That bet is hilarious. It really is. No rushing yards for Flacco. I would be terrified to take Flacco to the over, but to the under, it's minus 142. I don't think I could bet either side of it. So let me know what you guys are comfortable in doing with Joe Flacco for his rushing props. You know, we've talked this whole game out when we're talking rushing props for Joe Flacco, that's for sure. But let us know below this video who you think can get that first touchdown, who you're rolling with tonight in a Thursday night football. If you like the Cincinnati Bengals, if you like the Pittsburgh Steelers, some of those trends there for Mike Tomlin before I do let you go. One to note, and this is a huge note, the Steelers have struggled on the road on Thursday night football. Under Tomlin, they are just 2-8 straight up and 3-7 against the spread in those Thursday night football games. And they've lost 4 in a row, both straight up and against the spread, with their last win coming on Thursday night football on the road in 2016. You guys, that's enough to scare me away from the Pittsburgh Steelers with those kind of trends. You look at Mike Tomlin versus Zach Taylor. So coach against coach here. They have faced each other 12 times. Mike Tomlin in those 12 times has gone 7-5 straight up, 4-8 against those 4-8 against the spread in those games. When Taylor doesn't have Burrow, Tomlin has been able to go 4-1 straight up and against the spread. When he does have Joe Burrow, which isn't the case, Tomlin has been 3-4 straight up. So, and 4-3 against the spread. So Burrow has been a huge factor on why Zach Taylor has been able to get those wins in the situations where he did. But Mike Tomlin now facing Joe Flacco, who we all know, we saw him in that press conference, not impressed with the fact that the Browns traded to the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Flacco, and everything that went down. So I do think Mike Tomlin is a little concerned about what Joe Flacco can do out here. The biggest part for me in not wanting to back the Cincinnati Bengals tonight is that offensive line in front of him. That's where I have those concerns. Like I said, I did like the Steelers team total over 23.5. That number is fired up to 25.5 now. My fear here is that if Joe Burrow gets absolutely destroyed by the defense here, the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's not going to be a competitive one, and it will turn into a game where the Steelers are trying to chew up the clock. So will they get over the 25.5 and get 26 points? It is a large number for them to put those points on the board. But against this defense here, you guys, I still feel like they can get 26 points. So it's going to be interesting. People not seeing and understanding the love for Cincy in the comments. And we got Nick rolling in with the first touchdown scorer of T. Higgins. T. Higgins for the first touchdown scorer, you guys. Let's just look at that before I let you go. Let me know where you're watching these games tonight as well. If you like watching at home, if you're headed to the pub. First touchdown for T. Higgins at plus 1,200. Nick, I don't have a first touchdown scorer, so I'm going to be rooting on that one for you for sure. But you guys, I want to thank you all for joining us here on your primetime preview, last call on WagerTalk. I appreciate your time tonight. All the best in all of your bets. Let's make some freaking money. We will see you Monday night for another doubleheader. Bye, you guys.